All right.
What did you watch on Netflix?
Um, Jimmy Carr's newest special, his Dark
Hmm.
Material. Oh,
I've never listened to Jimmy Carr's stand up before.
oh, this is good. This is a good one to get introduced to him. But to, like his actual stand up. Like if you haven't watched any of the roast battle, like that he's hilarious in that, but this is a really good special and his comedy is fucking hilarious cuz he does say the most horrible shit at times, and it's like it's not even it's he's like Anthony Jeselnik, like because of the way their comedy comes across and the way they say what they say, it completely fucking works. And I don't want to say you get away with it, but you get away with it.
I'm not as big of a fan of Jeselnik.
I
He,
like
I've
I like
not
I
always
like the
been a
older
fan of
stuff.
his.
I
Uh,
see I really like him because he to me in a lot of ways he does tell some stories, but he gets that almost not to compare them because they're not similar, but in terms of like structure, he's very much for me like Mitch Hedberg and Stephen Wright,
well, that is
where
no structure.
well no in terms of like Anthony Jeselnik is one of those comedians, like, and all comedians kind of do this because it's where the humor is, but lately a lot of comedy has been focused around storytelling and things like that.
Yeah.
But he fucking is like, we're going down the road, we're going down the road, we're going down the road, boom, left turn out of fucking nowhere, that you're like that is so just like bam, that I'm like, oh my god, this dude is fucking hilarious. Like his on one of his first no, I think it's on his second album, I think it's on Shakespeare. um there's a bit about standards and practices that is just fucking hilarious because it's a true story. And like, he makes a joke about how, I'm not gonna, I'll play that sometime, or seek it out. He's another one. Him like, you can kind of tell if you're even a half-assed storyteller, you can kind of tell some jokes and they're still funny.
Hmm.
Like I can especially like with Eddie Murphy, right? When he's doing a character, you can imitate the characters that he's doing from Raw and thing, and it's still funny if you kind of, do it. Guys like Stephen Wright and Mitch Hedberg and fucking who we were just talking about,
Yeah.
farted,
As one that
Anthony Jeselnik and Jimmy Carr.
I saw Hedberg like 2 months before he died. Saw him and Stephen Lynch together.
Oh, fuck you.
Dude, that was fucking fantastic.
Oh my god, Stephen Lynch is one of my favorites. I'm so pissed because he's got a new album out, which is very, very funny.
Hmm.
And then the fucker's concert, there's nothing even coming close to California.
Weird.
Yeah, it's
No,
all very Midwest.
I
I have a feeling now that things are opening up, that he might
yeah,
like
he'll make it
extend some
back
more
there.
dates. I want to see
I
him.
even saw him do the musical version of The Wedding Singer in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Stephen Lynch, Andrew?
No, actually, I'm not really like the only comedian that I've actually seen lately, who I would actually go see live. I'm not the biggest comedian person in the world, but I do like Bill Burr. I think
No, I
he
love
makes
Bill Burr.
he's hilarious
I'd
and
go see Bill Burr.
he's edgy, but edgy in a good way. But I know there's
Yeah.
people. I actually remember what's her name? You know her, Kelly Curtis got mad at something he said on, I think it was SNL, about uh yeah, just about like
Oh,
just
when he hosted.
the oppression thing about
Ah,
certain demographic. Kelly was pissed.
I
Anyway.
no, you know what? Bill Burr's another one of those. I give we've and again another conversation we've had
Hmm.
online about this. There are very few people that I think get almost 100% passes for things. Comedians are in that protected class for me because that's part of their art.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, no. So there are. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. There are limits, but no. But
So, but
again, that goes.
what's weird is that sometimes there's not limits. Like somebody says something that another comedian would get away with, and they just get fucking railed for it, and you're like, what the fuck? Like,
I do think what's his name, Dave Chappelle, took a hit. I feel like even though he kind of defended himself, like I do think that
he didn't lose his job and he got another special, so I don't think he took that much of a hit. Like,
Yeah,
like it was,
I mean that was the thing. Like Chappelle's another one for me that he's very much in. I don't want to say like a protected safe space because
he's
he's
smart about it too, though. I feel like you sit there and listen to him, it's like, dude, he's not making no sense. Like he's actually,
Mhm.
you just have to fucking listen. If you're being emotional about it, then yeah, you're gonna be like, yeah, fuck you. But he's actually making sense. I'm sorry, you know?
no
Yeah.
exactly like he Chappelle is one of those comedians that for me crosses over that line of just being a comedian and kind of exists into like the world
Yes.
of like if you will like a stand-up philosopher
Cultural critic.
almost if you will that
Yes.
where you're like what you're saying and this is I think this is why I like the dark humor and a lot of the Anthony Jeselnik stuff and things like that. I like being made to feel and it's hard now uncomfortable by
Mhm.
comedy because it makes me step outside it makes you kind of push outside that zone and you go and you can laugh at something but then you sit there and you think about it and you're like oh shit
Correct.
like they're and they're very like and a lot of them are the big name comedians
Mhm.
you know like those real rising stars that have crossed over to the line but there's a lot of guys that like I mean fucking Bill Hicks before he died Hicks will fucking like you listen to any old Bill Hicks stuff it is philosophy like there's jokes in there you know Carlin
I think Mike Birbiglia kind of falls into that
oh
category
Mike
for me too.
Birbiglia most definitely does
Like, I need to see him live. He's always out this way. He's always out on the East Coast. I need to
yes
fucking find one of his shows
he
because I love
Russell
him. He's one of my
Peters
favorites. Mhm.
But Russell Peters is one where sometimes you have to listen close because he uses race in an amazingly brilliant way and I love it. And his just whole philosophy about it, it's all jokes. We should all be here laughing about this.
Mhm.
The white people should be laughing about the Asian jokes and the Asian people should be laughing about the white jokes. Like we should all be laughing about this. And man, I like oh, there's I think Carlin Pryor um and I know he got canceled but if you go back and listen to Louis CK's
Mhm.
stuff like you listen to Hilarious and Shoot Out they are fucking brilliant works of comedy
Mhm.
like just absolutely amazing and yeah you know I
But
okay
I think it's the reason Louis C.K. got in trouble is that he kind of became untouchable, and then he went too far.
You know what I think? I think the problem is you have to remember your brand. And if you are off brand, then you seem disingenuous and then people
yes
don't like you anymore. So that's what happened with him. That's what happened with Master of None guy, whatever. Because his brand was also like woke and like totally like, yes, like women, respect, respect, respect. But then he's like,
he's
oh,
out there
you
trying
know?
to be like he's out there being like half a date rapist yeah no
Yes. So
exactly like
that's what that's so you have whatever you do, make sure your shit is aligned, you know,
yeah
because once
like
it's not aligned, it's weird. People can't
but
handle it.
in some ways though with Louis' whole self-loathing kind of thing it is almost on brand to have whipped your dick out and started masturbating in front of like random women except that
His audience was
here's
not.
the problem this is why it was such a big deal is because he had the show on FX and that show is fucking brilliant
Mhm.
abso-fucking-lutely brilliant and what happened was and it's sad and I hope those two women stuck with it and are still trying to do it but one of the things that like one of the hard things for them was he as a comedian was like someone we looked up to and
Yes.
as you know he was like not necessarily a mentor but he was this and for him to do something like that comedians are all broken fucking people
Mhm.
like
It's true.
hardcore they're like you might have to dig a little bit to find it, but they're there.
Well,
But then
nobody does comedy because they're happy. Like that's the thing, right?
yeah,
Like,
well, except I mean, there are some people like again who's just amazing. No, well, Jim Gaffigan's broke in his own way, but
hmm
like Brian Regan is
hmm
another one who is completely clean, but he's another dude. If you go and listen to his
oh yeah,
album
no,
and you watch him,
he's yeah.
he looks at the world in a completely different fucking
hmm
way. And it just amazes me, like the ideas and the thoughts that he come up with. That's why guys like, Hedberg, it was such a loss
hmm
because he's another one that was like we were talking about Chadwick Boseman that was just starting to make an impact in the world
Yeah.
um with that and his I mean the things that you latch onto that you go to look like it's the stupidest yet still somehow funniest fucking thing like he does and again it's only two lines but it leads to a whole bit that he does about getting a fucking receipt for a donut.
hmm
But when he says it, you're like, oh shit, yeah, I've been offered a receipt for a single donut. It's not like I bought like 2 dozen for the office and I need the receipt because I'm going to expense it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I bought a donut. I don't need a receipt.
hmm
The fuck would I need a receipt for a donut
Yeah.
for?
He's like, do I have to prove that I was here? Is this in case? He's so
Yeah,
funny.
like it just, the whole bit, Mitch had, nah.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He was great live because he was working material. Like when guys are touring and not recording, they're working material. And his working
Yes.
material is so funny because he had the book. And every now and then he would tell a joke and like nobody would laugh. And he'd be like,
You're
well,
bumming
fuck
me.
that. And he'd cross it out and then keep going. It's so funny. Like he was so great. I was stoked that I saw those two. Um, it was a hell of a show.
Him, I want to see him. I want to see Bert Kreischer.
hmm
He's fucking hilarious. All his specials on Netflix. Bert, he's got an amazing story. Like if you go,
hmm He's Van
just pick,
Wilder.
yeah, he is the actual Van Wilder,
He's the actual Van Wilder. Yeah.
which is kind of fucking funny. But you go and like his specials tell you a lot, but to really get to like really appreciate Bert Kreischer, you just listen to him as a podcast guest. Podcasting has done so much for comedy in the last
hmm
10 years. It's fucking amazing. Like I have like, if you've never heard of Ryan Sickler, he's a comedian, fucking hilarious. He did a podcast that you can still find with this other guy Jay Larson called The Crab Feast, and it was just them talking to comedians. Ryan does one now called solo called The Honeydew, and it's basically all along the theory of when you go to like a diner and you get that bowl of melon, the fruit bowl, there's always like honeydew in it. Nobody ever eats the fucking honeydew. It's like this cast off fruit. And he actually talked to the owner of the diner about it. He's like, no, we cut it fresh. He's like, we throw it all away. We only put the honeydew in because nobody ever eats it. And so what he does is he's got comedians that come on and they tell all like their stories and this and that, and he's getting on some of these young guys. I just listened to one the other day. I'm catching up on episodes from last year. Dude was in a school shooting and he talks about it. I mean, you got people talking about molestation, rape,
hmm hmm
death, like, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. The one,
it's
one
so good. Real quick, he's got a Patreon to kind of fund it. It's $5 a month. I'm getting ready to sign up. Well, what he's done is, so it's kind of like us. He releases the audio, but he's got the YouTube up, so you could watch it too. $5 a month on Patreon. Actual people, just like you or I, would come on and tell their story. He's got this girl on there who had 2 vaginas, who is coming back because she just got it fixed to only one vagina. Um, they had a guy who helped solve a cold case from a murder because he dug up a human skeleton in a yard. They've got a guy who fell off a cliff and like broke his pelvis and his legs and stayed alive in the wild for like 72 hours while waiting for people home, just like broken there, like all sorts of shit like that. But like he had Tony Hawk on, was one of the most recent guests who just fell and broke his fucking femur.
hmm
Craziness. Um, but like Tony Hawk was fucking like we only think about Tony Hawk as like Tony Hawk's pro skater and everything when he's been famous. There was a huge chunk of time that we don't remember or think about where skateboarding like was like woo super super hot and then it just like
hmm
dipped the fuck out. And he was only like 23
Hmm.
when that
Yeah, no,
happened.
he was at his prime into his late 30s. Like that's when
Oh yeah.
he was the biggest deal on the planet. Another good podcast to listen to is have you ever listened to Michael Rosenbaum's podcast? It's
I'm
called
familiar
Inside
with
of You
it.
with Michael Rosenbaum.
I've
He played Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Yeah,
He's been
no, I know
also
who he is. Yeah.
um, dude. He's a little nutty, but man, he is a fucking great host. Like he gets some really fun people on there, and he's really great at getting people to talk about their shit.
cool.
And I think one of his tricks is he's very self-deprecating, right? And I think it really disarms people. Like it brings them in, and they share stories,
Feel safer.
and he's like he knows everybody. Like he introduced Tim Gunn to his wife, his now fiance, um, and a couple other people, and like he knows the owner of the Lakers. He was super close friends with Carrie. Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher.
Wow.
Um, like he was super close with Carrie Fisher. So
Random.
he's super interesting. Like his life on its own is really interesting, but like everybody likes him. So he gets celebrities all the time. Like he's close with Dax Shepard, which was an interesting one because Dax Shepard, speaking of comedians that are have like dark pasts, like he's been an addict. He's been through all this stuff.
I had no idea.
Yeah. As a
All I
matter of
know
fact,
is he married to what's her name, and
yeah, it was
smelly people.
they landed on the rocks not too long ago because he relapsed.
Oh,
Just barely, but just enough for it to be bad.
no, yeah.
Yeah, and so, um, but he's an excellent interviewer.
And easily probably like Smallville just wasn't the same. Did you watch Smallville?
Oh yeah, I
Okay, yeah,
love Smallville.
like literally like seasons 8 and 9 were a bit painful, but I stuck with it because I just like I'm already in, so I might as well finish it.
Yeah.
And then when he came back as Lex, it was like you just could just feel the show return, and
Mhm.
they landed the plane. But that season 7 finale where literally like when Lex is like facing off against Clark in the Fortress of Solitude,
Mhm.
it was such a letdown, like for him to not return after that, and then it's just
Yep.
like random.
I will die on the cross that I think he is the best Lex Luthor.
Yes, he's the best Lex Luthor. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
And he has the advantage that he got to develop the character more than anybody else ever has or will.
But even if you go
But
back to like season 1, like when he was just getting the role, he was like, "This, I'm in."
because
I'm
he
in.
was a dude that didn't want to be a bad guy. It's just life kept pushing him that way. Like he was so good in that. And if you watch him in other stuff, like he's usually funny. Like he's usually a
But
little
he's so
dorky and
in this.
dude,
Deadly serious.
he was the
And you
best.
felt for him because it's like, like he's like, Clark, why are you lying to me? Like, I am trying to be your friend, and I know you're bullshitting me. This is bullshit, And then I got my dad, Lionel. I loved him too as a.
He's great.
Yes, yes. So yeah, he's like, what's his name again? It's
Michael Rosenbaum or John Glover?
No, thank you, John Glover. Like he was made for that role. Actually, that's my favorite role he's ever done. I've seen him in other things, obviously, but he's not even that. He's more like he doesn't have that gravitas in the other roles. They try to like bring it back a little bit in Shazam, which was a little like, why are you doing this? Like, but no, him as Lionel Luthor was just like, that's what the casting.
For me, that show was all like, there was absolutely nothing wrong with what's his name, Tom Welling as Superman. I thought he was great.
Yeah,
but it was all about the surrounding characters. It was Lex Luthor, Jonathan Kent. John Schneider was amazing as Jonathan Kent.
Yes.
What's her name as his
Maureen
mom?
McCormick, I think her name, or
No. It's
but yeah, she was in Superman 3.
Mm-hmm,
What was her name? Yeah, what was her name?
She played Lana Lang in Superman 3.
Correct.
And I loved Kristen.
Annette O'Toole.
Yeah, Annette O'Toole. Yeah, I loved Kristen Crook. She was great as Lana Lang. Her story kind of fell off, or like they kind of lost it. But I also loved Erica Durance as.
Okay.
Erica Durance as Lois Lane was one of my favorite Lois Lanes. Like she had the attitude, she had like all the stuff that the character should have. That like if you look at the Brandon Routh Superman, that girl just did not have at all.
No.
Like she had nothing impressive about her. Like Lois Lane stands up on her own. Like she is supposed to be a tough chick, like, you know, smart, everything. And what's her name in
Amy Adams.
Superman Returns? Yeah. No. Amy Adams is okay.
I
She
liked
still
Amy
wasn't.
Adams.
She wasn't quite Lois
No,
Lane.
you're talking
I
about
still want.
the. Yeah, I know you're talking about. She was just.
Kate Goslin.
No,
Or
no,
no,
no, no. Kate Bosworth.
Kate Bosworth.
Bosworth. There you go.
And I'm proud of what's his name. He's gone on to bigger things, but the guy who played Oliver Queen, who's in This Is Us now.
This is us. Yeah.
He was good. I mean, and then I'm surprised you didn't mention Allison Mack. I liked Allison Mack. I liked.
I didn't have a problem with her. Every time I watched the show,
crazy.
my wife hated her.
She's crazy sex lady.
My wife hated her before that, but yeah, that's a whole other thing. But she was annoying at times, and I wasn't really a fan of her ending up with Oliver.
Okay, got it. Well,
yeah. But like they needed to give him someone, like, you know, and she was there. I think without writing in a whole other character somewhere.
Well, I think they need each other because Chloe. I was pro Chloe and Clark. I was like, why are you friend zoning her, man? What the fuck's wrong with you?
Well, I would too if Kristen Crick was running around.
Ships, man.
Sorry,
Ships.
man.
No, you just have Kristen one time, then Chloe another time, and then go back to
Welcome to the All Pop No Culture Podcast. I am your host tonight, Pete. Just so you guys know ahead of time, all of that we've been talking about for the last like 45 minutes is going to be the first 45 minutes of the show.
It better be.
Because we covered so much fun shit right there. Yeah, I've got like an hour pre-show. So we are a pop culture centered podcast focusing mainly on streaming television, movies, and a little bit of music here and there. We're getting to it. I am joined tonight, as always, by Kevin.
Hola.
And we have oh yes, Kevin, say hello. I keep forgetting to do that. I'm just like spinning.
I know, what a dick, dude. Just cut me off. It's cool, man. It's cool. I've only done, fucking 90 of these episodes. 92. This is 92.
Wow.
God.
But it's cool if you haven't figured it out yet.
We're joined by Kevin and Andrew. No Andy tonight, but an Andrew still. Welcome back.
Holding it down for the Andy contingent.
We missed you. Yeah, last week you saw New Edition again, but you went to Chicago.
And actually Detroit. But
Detroit.
You've done it like every single time we've had this conversation.
Yeah,
you have no fucking idea where he was. Even in the text, you got corrected like twice.
Such an asshole.
What an idiot.
Yeah, it was a good show, but it's great to be back. I was in Canada briefly. On the plane, I was flying in. My phone service switched to Canada. It was pretty cool.
That's kind of funny. Well, Canadians, Jesus.
I'm like part Canadian. I watched The Curse of Oak Island.
Andrew is Canadian.
I know he is. From Nova Scotia, which is where Oak Island is. I know.
Where the treasure is. Passport. You can't really see it. Anyway.
It's a little blurry, yeah.
Canadian passport.
Oh,
there you go. Bam.
Oh, Canada.
Don't do that. Don't insult our neighbors to the north.
So you've already been listening to the show for about 40 minutes now, give or take. We'll see how much I leave in there, but it'll be close to 40 minutes to a half an hour. But I'm just gonna jump in right now because we're talking in what you won't hear. Lost. Ooh, if you are joining us for the Lost segment of this podcast because you're digging Lost, like we could almost be just a fucking podcast about Lost. Like really, like I almost feel like we should cut it out and it should be like another West Wing Weekly. Like we're doing Lost.
That's what I do with the video.
As a fucking Lost podcast. Yeah, it's fucking because these 3 episodes, doggy. This is but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So I've been a little HBO Max centric lately with what I'm watching that's kind of new. Because they've had some good stuff out there. First, it's new. They've only got 1 episode up. The next one drops Sunday, so by the time this drops, they'll have 2 episodes up, and that is Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. It's so far it's only 1 episode. It's fucking amazing. Like this is one that I'm surprised they didn't like push harder yet because it's really good. John C. Reilly is Jerry Buss. The Jerry West is awesome, and he's played by, I should look this up because it's a very surprising, like if you watch it, it's really surprising to find out the guy's an Australian actor. But it basically starts, it's got a really kind of cool cold open, and it's Magic Johnson when he does that walk out of the doctor's office when it's been announced that he has HIV. And then, credits cut to the signing of Magic, Jerry Buss trying to buy the Lakers, and that's what the beginning of this episode is. It's really, really good.
Will they cover the South Park episode where they find the cure for AIDS?
I don't think so, only because that is so far past like the Lakers dynasty that they're going to cover.
Yeah, for sure.
I think because it's going to be the Lakers Celtics stuff, and like you
It
watch
was-
some of the like.
It didn't come out that he had AIDS while he was playing, though.
No, it was
No.
way. It was well
Yeah,
after.
okay.
It was
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a long time
It
after.
was like right
That's what I
after,
thought.
actually, no?
No, I don't think it was right after. It was a while.
No,
after.
I don't think so either, because even if he had a 20-year career, he only played till the 90s.
Yeah, but it was fall '91. I remember this distinctly. Fall
What is
'91 when he announced.
I hate. That'll be yeah. Look it up. I see your.
I'm looking right now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but
Uh,
this looks like it's going to be a great fucking series. Like the acting is already top notch. The storytelling's pretty good in it. They've got the look of it, especially with the filters they're using.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They've
November
got the look
7th,
of it.
1991.
When did he retire from basketball?
We'll soon find out.
Yeah, I've seen the trailers for that show, and
November
for whatever
6th,
reason,
1991.
it didn't really catch my eye. I'm not too interested in it.
It's
But it may not help that I don't care for basketball as a sport. I never really have.
This is what's cool about this, though, and it's kind of one of those things that I like, and it's like what I love about like Studio 60. When did he retire from basketball?
On November 7th, 1991, basketball legend Earvin Magic Johnson stuns the world by announcing his sudden retirement from Los Angeles Lakers after testing positive for HIV, the virus that causes AIDS.
All he needed was money.
Thank you, Andrew.
You're very
Today,
welcome.
Jeannie Thompson
Yeah.
of North Fork got
Yeah.
a cat caught in a tree.
Yeah, our man on the street, Andrew.
That was, dude. Okay, trip. I didn't. I did not realize that's
I
why.
remember it
why
just
it
like
was. That does
yesterday.
make sense, though.
Yeah.
It always felt longer to me. Like I always felt like there was a break in between.
Yeah, I thought there was some too.
Then he returned in '96 and played like a couple games, and then people
That's
got
right.
weird. Yeah,
That's right. But yeah, this is going to be a solid show. Definitely going to be worth a watch. John C. Reilly is great. It's neat. That's what I was starting to say. It's kind of why I love Studio 60 so much. Like it's it only got its little short run, and that's very depressing for me. But it's because it's all the behind the scenes stuff. So far, the actual basketball, the sports part of it has been minimal. And I think that's also part of why like Ted Lasso is amazing, because there is some.
It only covers
soccer
enough
in
soccer.
there.
Yeah, it only covers enough soccer for those of us that need to know what's going on.
Exactly. Like it's
not
just
like
looks
any given Sunday
where you basically watch fucking 2 whole football games during that fucking movie. Jesus. Okay, that's a whole nother night, a whole nother show. We just talk about fucking Oliver Stone in general. Good God Almighty, Joe Friday. But it's going to be a good one. I've said like 8 times now. It's definitely, again, we're only 1 episode in, but I already get that vibe. I do think though it is going to fall by the wayside, like a lot of shows like this have. Like there's I raved about it on here, that showed The Deuce. That was all about 42nd Street and in the 70s and the end before they cleaned it up, and prostitution and porn and all that. There's a lot of really great small roles that people do in that one that's fucking phenomenal. Method Man.
Yeah, that one disappeared. I remember that one coming out, and it just
they
nobody
gave it an
talked
end
about it.
though. Yeah,
That's
no,
good.
it never got pushed. That is one that again HBO can wholeheartedly recommend. The other one that was like that is, I think it was called Vinyl. I will double check that.
I remember
with,
Vinyl,
with
yeah.
Bobby
That sounds-
Cannavale.
yeah.
That show was fucking amazing, and it got canceled when it was just starting to take off. And they had so many fun little like cameos of.
I feel like shows like that need to be written for 1 season. Just
Yeah,
I'd rather see
There is.
1 great season of a show than have it get canceled.
Yeah, like
it's tricky,
again,
but
No, I think it's
Like
actually that.
Watchmen.
Yes,
Mhm.
that would be a very smart way to do that. You go in and you say, "Look, I've written this story. Do you want to do it in do you want to do seasons of 8, 13, or 21? Because it'll either be 2 seasons, 3 seasons, or 4 seasons. That's how long it'll take me to tell this story. How do you want to do it? This is the way it goes." And just fucking like
Yeah,
know that
I
it's
feel
gonna be.
yeah, I feel like streaming has kind of forced that hand in storytelling, because now you see a lot of series that are planned
Yeah,
for three, 4, or maybe even 5 seasons at the most, and then they're done. It used to be, um, the networks, like, they tried with Lost, just as an example. They tried to get them to stretch the show
because they were still
even
making
longer.
advertising
They were gonna
dollars.
have them keep going,
Jesus.
uh, or take, the Blacklist on NBC.
Oh, okay.
Cool premise. James Spader's fucking amazing. First 2 seasons were really good, and it just starts to get silly. And now it's in its 10th season, and you're like, dude, that
And you're like,
show had no reason to be that long.
jump the shark 4 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only watched a few episodes of it here and there, but even just the few I've watched, because it's been over time. Like I watched one, I think like 3 or 4 months ago, that I was just like, the fuck happened to this show? Because like that
Yeah.
first episode was awesome,
Yeah, it's great.
and
And
James
then
Spader is the
and then
creepiest
well,
fucking human being to
oh, I love
walk the
James
face
Spader.
of the earth.
Don't bag James Spader.
No,
You're in the wrong place.
in the best way.
I will
I'm
punch you.
sorry, like he plays that creepy dude to a fucking T. Like
Well,
he was
did you see
brilliant and
Boston Legal?
still fucking creepy. Yes,
Oh,
I
he's
love
so good
Boston
in
Legal.
Boston Legal.
He is no he's amazing, but there is this weird smarmy creepiness that he
Yeah, he can do that.
has
He can do
that
that for
he
sure.
brings to so many roles that his in the office.
Hmm. He brings a
Amazing.
natural ego, like, just like his characters always really love themselves a lot.
His dick
Uh,
enters the room before he does in
mhm.
every character
By
that
about
he
3 or 4 minutes, yeah.
yes, like that is how he rolls. And I love James Spader.
He was
Absolutely love him. Like,
great as Ultron. I mean, come on.
Yes,
oh,
that's what I was thinking of.
Hmm.
he's a guy that I'm like, why are you not doing more voiceover work?
Hmm.
Like,
Oh, why did you make me do that after shooting off Claw's arm?
oh,
It made me angry. Why did
For
you
the
make me
whole
do that?
fucking Pinocchio scene, I mean, he's
yeah,
so good. And like even the Stargate movie, like, I loved him in
yes.
that. Like,
He,
what?
you I mean, even go farther back. Forget Pretty in Pink. Just
Hmm.
Less Than Zero
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
as a drug dealer.
that's a deep
Like,
cut with RDJ. Yo, that's crazy how both of them were in that movie together.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
oddly enough, one of the most famous scenes in that movie is when what's his face? Not Timothy Hutton, but the other guy that's in that movie, like the good guy, basically busts into the hotel room and stops RDJ from blowing um James Spader
I
in
was a
there
long
for
time ago.
coke.
God,
Like
it's
that's
been a long
less than zero. It's
Andrew
that's a
McCarthy?
savage fucking movie, and it becomes even crazier knowing yes Andrew McCarthy, knowing what happens to Robert Downey Jr. with
Right.
drugs down the line.
Hmm. After that.
Prophetic.
But it's that, and I think it's Jamie Gertz is
Correct.
the
I'm
yeah
looking at it.
that movie Less Than Zero. That's one of those that like never gets put in with those Brat Pack movies because it wasn't funny, romantic, heartwarming. It is like that is a heavy fucking movie,
Mhm.
and whew. But
It
yeah,
apparently flopped. It was made for 8 million, box office 12 million.
not
So
surprised.
yeah.
Not
And
surprised at
Vegeta
all.
Winter from Bengals is in that movie. I know that's
Yes.
some random trivia
No,
by
that is a
Rick Rubin.
phenomenal fucking cover
Yes.
of that song. Like it's
If not definitive.
arguably. I mean, it's hard to call something definitive when you're talking about like a Simon and Garfunkel song, though. Like that's I think I don't get me wrong. I heard the Bengals song before I heard the Simon and Garfunkel version,
Same.
and the Bengals song is amazing. But then you listen to the Simon and Garfunkel version,
Mhm.
and you're kind of like, oh yeah,
I'll check it out. I
No
mean,
shit.
to be fair,
There,
87 was my seminal year of like music when I started listening to my own stuff versus what my parents
Mhm.
listened to. Not to like digress, but like, yeah, like, that's also probably part of it. So yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, but it's a I that version of that song is fucking amazing. Anyway,
What else did you watch on HBO?
yeah, um, this one might not be for everybody, but it's fucking funny. If you like this group of actors, or like the people that are in this, you're gonna find this shit fucking hilarious. It is called Our Flag Means Death.
I've seen that trailer. I don't
So it
remember it, but I know I've
is
seen it.
it's loosely based on the life of Stede Bonnet, the gentleman pirate who quit
Mhm.
his
This is the
wealthy
Taika
job.
one, right? The Taika Waititi.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Taika Waititi as Blackbeard the pirate. If you're a Taika fan, if you like Reese Darby, who do you know? You guys, Reese Darby,
Hmm.
he's um he's a Kiwi.
Hmm.
Most people would recognize him as the NPC from Jumanji, the guy that drives
Right.
the
Right.
jeep.
Right. Right. Hmm.
You know, I'm race. Like I'm not even gonna do.
Don't
I
fucking
can't do
do
him.
that.
I can do it. I can do a
No,
Kiwi
you
accent. I
can't.
can do it.
No, you
Yes, I
can't.
can.
No, you can't. There's a
But
documented history of you not being able to do
I'm not going to do it because I can't do him, and his voice is
that.
special. But
Yeah.
Reese Darby is fucking hilarious in it.
Hmm.
Taika Waititi, he's an amazing director,
He's
but
always the same character as an actor, almost.
and he is sort of in here too,
Hmm.
but he's so fucking funny, man.
Really.
He delivers it like the delivery of the lines is fucking brilliant, and just the whole the whole premise behind it. And I don't it's so Stede Bonnet is like this rich guy, and he goes and he leaves private, and you learn all this later on in flashbacks, right? But he's a fucking completely inept and hapless pirate. He's got a goofy crew, who are I'm forgetting. I don't know the actor's name. I should look this up because he was in um he was in Cruella, and he was in that movie with ah, la, 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 the Beatles movie where the guy not Revolution, where he gets hit by a car, and he's
Yes.
like a
Yeah. Yeah.
failing
Yeah.
musician. It's a
He's an
great
Indian
movie. My
kid.
brain is just not working right now.
The
I don't
Indian
know why.
kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I liked
it's
him a lot.
fucking
I can't remember his
awesome.
name either.
That movie's fucking great. That was one.
Yeah.
I think that was
Yesterday,
one
is
of
that what it's called?
yes, I
Yeah, I
think it
think I
is.
saw that on a plane. I think I saw that traveling. The movie's fantastic. I
We
loved it.
talked about it
Hate the
way
Beatles,
back
but I love the
when it
movie.
came out. Yeah, well, this we talked about it way back in. I think it was probably around the 40s, maybe the 30s when
Hmm.
that came out, episode wise. And I remember that was one of the few that actually got an agreement amongst all of us that it was a really good movie.
Hmm.
Like even if you don't like the Beatles music,
Which I
it
do
like
not.
it's exactly it's still a really good movie. And
Yeah, it really was.
it's funny because I okay, you know what? No, no, no,
Yeah, remember when you were talking about that show on HBO
no.
that you watched?
Um, so Our Flag Means Death. It it's really funny. It's like I said, it's loosely based on this dude's life. He leaves his wealthy world, and goes, and he's this net pirate, and it's just got a fun crew and cast of characters. Leslie Jones makes an appearance
Mhm.
as this. She's fucking Leslie Jones again. She's another one of those, like, walks into the room, steals the scene. Like every time she's on the screen, it's amazing. But Taika is fucking phenomenal as Blackbeard and what he does. If I would say this, I think there's 6 episodes out right now. It's probably only going to be it might go 13, but it might only do 8.
Yeah, my
I can
guess is eight.
see
I
where
think.
the story's starting to go at this point with this. I have a feeling they may push for a second season that will get to a point and they'll go. Um, it's funny if you it will bleh. The first episode will either have you or you won't. It's not a standard 3 episode watch kind of show. Like if you'll either dig the humor in the first one. You know what? No, actually, watch the first 3 before you decide, because you don't really get Taika until the third one. It's the first 2 are good, they're funny, but the third one, once Taika really jumps into it as Blackbeard, the show takes off, like in a big bold way. It's really really funny though. Anyway, yes. So our flag means death. Reese Darby, really really funny. Finally, to wrap it up, just a real short one on Netflix. Uh, I don't know why I put it on. I didn't even realize the guy had a new one out. If you're a fan of Jimmy Carr, you've already watched this, but his Dark Material, newer special from him. It's 2021, but it was like late 2021. Uh, he's one of those dark comedians that I fucking love. That just we may have slightly, I don't know, we may have already talked about this, in fact, or started to with just the comedians. I don't know if it's going to be in that 30-40 minutes there that we were talking about from earlier. But yeah, if you like Jimmy Carr and you like the dark comedians, you like guys that really know how to fucking zig and zag, and his shit is fucking hilarious. And that, gentlemen, is all she wrote for me. That was noteworthy. Oh, that and the new, the revitalized or rebooted Law and Order came out on NBC. If you're a fan of those series, you're gonna like this one. If you're not, you don't. It I don't know. I don't want to say it doesn't capture the magic of the old one. It's it's there. It's a new cast of characters. The cops are cool. Anthony Anderson's back. It's fun. If you like the Law and Order series, you'll like this one. It revitalized it, because the last season with Anthony Anderson and what's his Detective Lupo, I forget the guy's name, the actor. It was okay. It wasn't anything special. Like, you understood why they said, "Nah, you know what? We're gonna cut this and just focus on SVU." Um, but yeah, that's all I watched. That's all I consumed. Other than Lost, I can't wait.
Kevin, you want to go next?
Yeah,
Sure. Mine's pretty quick. I finally finished my video game, so I was able to watch some television. I started watching Pieces of Her on Netflix with Toni Collette and Bella Heathcott. And it's interesting. It is a sort of mystery drama. The opening scene that really sets it off is the way it first starts. It's very mellow, and then it goes to the scene that's just in your face. Like, there's a shooting in a coffee shop, and Toni Collette protects her daughter, ends up killing the guy that was the shooter, and so she's like, "Shit, don't talk to the police." Don't tells her daughter, "Don't talk to the police." Tells tries to keep hidden, but she gets instantly celebrityfied because somebody recorded the thing, and so she instantly tells her daughter, "Oh, please, try and stay away from the cops." She's trying to send her daughter away or get her daughter out of the way, and somebody breaks to Toni Collette's house and tries to kill her. And so this starts to set off this chain of events where now it's this girl, Bella Heathcott's in her 20s, and it's all this, who the fuck is my mom actually? Like, who is she? Who is this person that I thought was my mom, and all that? And it's interesting. There's a lot of it that feels a little rote within that kind of genre, where doesn't feel new, or it feel not cheesy is the wrong word, because it definitely doesn't feel that way, but it just feels familiar or too easy. But Toni Collette is Toni Collette. Like, she's fucking amazing. I love her.
yeah.
She's pretty damn near perfect. And if you've seen her in Unbelievable, which I think was also a Netflix show, that show was fantastic. Her and Merritt Weaver from Nurse Jackie.
Love Merritt Weaver,
I
who
love Merritt Weaver.
oddly enough, one of her very first acting gigs on television, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
Oh, nice. Um, but I do.
Fucking buy that for people for Christmas. You fuckers must watch it. Anyway, go.
Unbelievable, which I think I have talked about on the show before, but Toni Collette, Merritt Weaver, and Caitlin Deaver, who is a young, she might be 20 now, 21 now. She's a really great young actress too, and that show is great. That is a mystery, and it's like Caitlin Deaver's character I think she gets raped, and she tries to come out about it, and it's just all about people don't believe her story, and so because she wasn't the most like perfect student. She was poor and she rode her bike everywhere and all that.
Oh, she was in Dear Evan Hansen.
I don't know what you're talking about right now, but it's not what I was talking
Oh,
about.
sorry. No, Caitlin Deaver.
Jesus. Yeah, no, she's fantastic. She was on, if you caught any of the latest Tim Allen show.
Yeah, Last Man Standing.
She was the daughter. That show was, I really liked the first couple of seasons of that show.
She's in this movie Booksmart.
Yes.
Like,
mm-hmm.
Have you seen that?
I keep meaning to, because it's supposed to be great, but she's one of the main characters in that.
Okay, it's on Hulu. I gotta add. Yeah. I'm gonna make sure I add that to a list. That looks really.
She's really talented. I think she's gonna go really, really far. But back to the show that I watched. I'm only about halfway through Pieces of Her. I'm gonna finish it for sure. I'm not sure if I'm gonna love it or hate it. I know, like I said, that Toni Collette is great. And really, all of the acting is good. It's just some of the story stuff is a little fantastical. So I'm waiting for it to like feel, hopefully, more grounded before it ends. Because it starts off at least feeling a little grounded, and then it just kind of takes off for a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But it's good enough that I'll watch the rest of it. And it's only, I think, 8 episodes. And then today with my family, I watched The Adam Project on Netflix, which is the new Ryan Reynolds film. By
I'm waiting to hear about this.
Yeah,
I just
the same director
the other day. Ugh.
Yeah, the same director that directed Free Guy. Excuse me, and is now going to direct Deadpool 3.
Yep.
Yes.
So, is it Sean Levy? I think his name is something Levy. And it's a fun movie. You got Ryan Reynolds, you've got Zoe Saldana, Mark Ruffalo, Jennifer Garner, who I fucking adore. I think Jennifer Garner is one of the greatest human beings on the planet. I love her to no end. It's one of the reasons that I loathe Ben Affleck as much as I do. But
what are your feelings on 13 going on 30?
Fucking love that movie, dude. Absolutely love that movie. Love that movie. I would watch that right now.
It's Thriller. It's Thriller.
She's so great, dude. She's so great. And it's a fun movie. It's an adventure movie. It's it almost feels like one of the 80s adventure movies. Kind of vibe, but obviously with considerably better special effects, right? Like think Flight of the Navigator if they'd had, a multi, tens of millions of dollars to make, right? But it's cool. It's fun. It's an adventure all the way through. I don't know that everything about it is entirely
you just
believable.
said Flight of the Navigator, and I just realized I haven't made my kids fucking watch that yet.
Yeah, you got to watch that. They're doing a remake, I think. I think they're doing a remake of Flight of the Navigator. Disappoints me greatly. I would rather watch the original.
I don't. It's not even watching the original on that one. There's no point. It's not the same wonderment and thing unless you're gonna like base it in the fucking 80s, or whatever it was, whatever time that was. There's no point in doing that again. It doesn't I don't think that movie plays forward with where technology is today.
Right. You'd have to rethink the whole thing.
Yeah, it's Flight of the Navigator was one of those like super special kid movie that like everybody our age did.
Yeah, I don't know that my kids would actually enjoy it. That's the thing, because like my kids, number one, wouldn't understand the Beach Boys references, so it's interesting. I love that movie. I did watch it a lot as a kid. But the Adam Project, it's a time travel movie. It's got the same, very similar feel. The idea is that Ryan Reynolds' character comes back in time and meets his young self, and he needs to find their dad because it's him. He needs to find his dad. Um, but the gotcha is that he accidentally went to 2022 instead of 2018, and in 2021 his dad died. So they have to team up, get him better, so that they can then go back to 2018 and find dad. And Zoe Saldana makes a couple of great appearances. Kathleen Keener's in it, which the only bummer there is they do some de-aging stuff with her, and it doesn't work in a couple of shots. Like it's a little weak.
That's a bummer. I hate it when they fuck that up.
It's just too easy. It's too easy to not do right.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at like Mandalorian, they got kicked in the ding ding for their first run of young Mark Hamill, right? Like they had to retouch that up. And he looked much better, although still a little wonky in the newest season, but much better than when he first showed up in season 2.
Well, and way better than Leia in Rogue One.
Yes,
that was like the first time I saw that, and that to me is the only blemish on that movie. But that's a whole nother podcast, so we'll stick that off to the side and put that in its own little bucket.
I agree, and I do let that go. Well, and Grand Moff Tarkin wasn't great either for the same reason.
Yeah.
But it's just the technology that has gotten easier to do, but not necessarily easy to perfect. So a lot of people are trying to use it, and it doesn't really work. I would rather see them find an actress that kind of look like Catherine Keener and have it be the same character than have it a de-aged Catherine Keener.
I just realized what it is with the because they weren't that huge when it came out. With Rogue One, Princess Leia looks like she's got a fucking Snapchat filter on. Like I haven't been able to find the right way to describe it until now, but it looks like she's got some weird Snapchat filter, and that's what.
They had somebody step in, and they basically put her face over it. That's what happened. And when you saw it in the theater, you're like, oh, cool. They did that. Whatever. It didn't look perfect, but that's okay. Now, as that technology gets better, now you expect it to be perfect, and if it's not, you catch it. And so, like that was definitely a little bit of a distraction for me. In this one, one of the main bad guys is an actor that I love. He's in Dark Matter, and I love to see those guys get their breaks because it's a show that.
What's his name?
Alex. Why can't I? Malari, Mallari, I think. Asian guy from Dark Matter, and I love him. He's great. He always, or not always, but at least in Dark Matter, and then in this, plays like this really assholey, like bad guy, kick-ass character. But like in real life and in interviews, he's like the most mellow, like kind person, and he's like super funny.
There you go. Born in the Philippines and raised in Scarborough, outside of Toronto.
Well, it makes sense. I think Dark Matter was filmed in Canada. He was Canadian. I think Melissa O'Neill won Canadian Idol one year, and she's now starring in The Rookie. She's great on that. I love her on that.
He's on an episode of Letterkenny.
Which one? Oh yeah. He's in one of the bar scenes.
Yeah.
But I love him. So I love seeing him get out there. He was also in where they did Ginny and Georgia, I think was what
Ginny
it was
and
called.
Georgie. Yeah.
I didn't watch that, but my wife did. But just when you have a show where the characters or all the actors are people that people really haven't seen, it's kind of exciting to see the rest of the world see them when they get break out in something else. So I hope he gets more and more
He was
work.
in the RoboCop remake.
Yeah, because everybody saw that.
Oof, that's one I don't think we ever talked about.
I don't remember seeing it, to be honest.
Oh, I watched it.
I feel like I did, but I don't remember.
Okay.
Write that down. No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down as a note to that'll be a discussion point for another episode, though. Kevin, continue.
Yeah. That's it. I don't want to give too much away. All the interactions are really great.
Just so I know, because I'm gonna watch this. I saw the preview for it, and it just looks really, really good. Like it looks like a fun
It
time. It
is.
looks
It's
like
a fun. Yeah.
it looks like a total family movie, like a family
Yeah.
adventure
100%.
movie
It's
in a
a,
way. Like you could,
yeah.
um,
I don't know
do I
that it's a
have
great
to?
movie,
Right.
but
Do I have to suspend my time travel paradox analytics to enjoy this movie, or do they address it somehow? Do I just take
it's
it and
still a
go,
different
eh?
take. It's a different take on it. They kind of explain it well enough.
Okay.
Um,
Because the minute you talk about like going back in time and saving someone's dad, I'm like, butterfly effects and ripples.
well, and that's kind
It
of the
all
point. And that's
changes.
actually kind of the point of the movie.
Okay.
So there's that. And the one thing that I really love, and again, I have a huge bias in this, but I love the interaction with Jennifer Garner and the kid because she feels like a genuine, and she is. I mean, she's been a mom for a long time, but it's a genuine relationship between a kid that's hard. He's not easy. He's Ryan Reynolds as a kid, right?
How
And
does
he
the kid
played
do as a young Ryan Reynolds?
he's great. He's fantastic. And their interactions together, once Ryan Reynolds and this kid are together, like they're totally how I would talk to myself. Like he's like,
That's
whatever,
great.
you fucking idiot. Like, like
Oh,
it's pretty great.
I'm gonna find it for us. It's gonna be required watching because it's a short film that these two guys. I just heard about it on a podcast the other day. It's only because it goes along with this time travel thing that you said. So the imagine if you had to go back. A guy goes back in time to tell his 16-year-old self stuff, but he gets stuck and winds up fucking hating his 16-year-old self because he's such a d-bag.
Makes sense.
And just
Yeah, this
how that
totally
plays
tracks.
out.
Like,
I gotta find it. It just sounded like I was like, oh my god, this is right up our alley.
well, one thing that's funny too is the kid's 12 years old, and he definitely seems 12. And they point out that he's small for 12. And man, when he is in shots with Ryan Reynolds, he just looks tiny, and Ryan Reynolds looks huge. It's so weird. Like he looks abnormally huge next to this kid, and I think it's just because the kid's small. But it's funny. Um, but it's just some really good interactions. I remember seeing when they were filming the movie that the kid hung out with Ryan Reynolds a lot to try and get his mannerisms down and stuff. And there's definitely a line that he delivers near the end where like he does something and he looks right towards the camera, not necessarily breaking the wall, but towards the camera, and he says a line exactly like if it had been Ryan Reynolds. And I was like, cool. Uh, Again,
That's
it's not a perfect movie. I'm sure some people are not going to like it, but it is fun. That's all it is. It's a fun movie. Ruffalo's great. Um, like I said, Jennifer Garner is fantastic. I adore her. So that's it.
nice.
That's the end of my
I'm probably
rant.
we may watch that tomorrow night, like for like Sunday night family movie night. We have
Yeah, definitely. It's not long. It's like an hour and 45. It's
oh
not super
sweet.
long. Yeah.
Okay, Andrew.
All right. So
Sorry, I'm getting show ideas and writing them down
yeah,
here.
no, I'm actually I'm just did some Googling because I want to get this right. So I'm just gonna talk about a film that I saw earlier today. It starred Pattinson. Um, and that movie was called The Batman. And what I'll say starting off, I mean, there's a couple things I wanted to say, and I'm like pretty excited about this movie. So I want to make sure that I'm getting my thoughts out in a coherent and non-scattered, like
Wrong show.
rational way.
Yeah,
Wrong show.
bro.
All right, cool.
What show do you think this is?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I don't know.
but whatever. I just like to. It's how I roll, man. So I'll
Remember tonight we started early because I was so like I'm like, oh my god, these guys, we always start so late and it's fucking daylight saving. So even if we go to like 3, it's actually gonna be 4 and fuck. And we recorded for a goddamn like hour and 10 minutes before
yes,
we like
this is turning into like the normal time slot.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah,
So
we're
got
actually there now. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So okay, fuck it. So first of all, let me just start by saying this. Okay, the movie is 3 hours long, right?
Mm-hmm.
at no point, okay, did I feel like looking at my watch. Okay, I can't say that about Dune. Like Dune, there are parts where I was like,
Yeah,
okay, let me look at my fucking watch.
100%,
Okay,
100%. Yeah.
this movie was just boom, 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 boom. Okay, at several points in the movie, I just had this grin on my face. Like I was just like, yes, like this is like I'm enjoying myself. If you thought, and there's many people out there, I'll never understand this by humans, but if you thought that Pattinson was going to suck, I'm not saying you suck, but you kind of suck. Like I knew, like, dude, like don't just judge him off of Twilight. Like, come on, dude. Like, have you seen Tenet? Have you seen some of the like the Lighthouse, wherever? Like,
Right.
the
Oh
guy can
yeah.
act. Okay, so just slow your roll. This is why you're not a critic or don't even have a voice. Just sit there and watch the fucking movie and enjoy it. Okay, number one. Number two, as I left the theater, I thought to myself, okay, people are comparing this to The Dark Knight. Okay, I don't think that's fair because The Dark Knight is the second in a trilogy. So you already had a chance to develop the character, right? Whereas this movie, it's the debut. Okay. So if you want to compare it to anything, compare it to the Batman. So my verdict is in the pantheon of Batman movies, okay, I would say an argument can be made that after The Dark Knight being the best Batman film of all time, this one's number two. That argument can absolutely be made. I did like The Dark Knight Rises. I did. So that's why for me, I might say Dark Knight Rises, then The Batman. But either way, The Batman is a phenomenal movie. Let me start with the good. The casting was amazing. Not to always talk about physical appearances here, but I've never seen Zoe Kravitz more beautiful. I swear to God.
And just,
Like,
I've heard that all over the place. In every picture I've seen of her, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm like delicious. Like holy shit. Like you are fine. Okay.
She's got a bright future
Oh yes, especially
ahead
after
of
this
her.
film. Especially after this film. Uh, What, Anne Hathaway? Huh? Like, no, dude.
Mhm.
You are Catwoman. Okay. Colin Farrell. He disappeared into the role, and I almost feel
He's
like
getting his own series now.
yes on HBO, greenlit
Yeah.
already, and I
Is
feel like
it?
maybe
Mhm.
keep going. Yeah, it's happening, and it's like I get it because maybe people saw you as a pretty face, so you weren't getting roles anymore. So you have to put on all this makeup to prove that you can fucking act and reinvent yourself, and you've done it. Okay. John Turturro is a
Okay, hold on.
great.
I'm gonna stop you
Turturro.
from
Yeah,
time to
stop.
time here. Very short. So he plays the Penguin.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Now, Batman's. I mean, Batman has always been cool, but let's be real. In both the comics and the movies and TV shows, it's always been the rogues gallery that makes Batman what it is and enjoyable. In this one, is Penguin like a
Pete, I already have my answer for you.
like the bad
This
guy?
is arguably the best Batman that's ever been portrayed. Like, this is the first Batman where you actually, like, this guy is angry. He's intimidating. He's a detective, but he's still human. And he actually doesn't get, in my opinion, overshadowed by his villains, right? Like in The Dark Knight, clearly Heath Ledger was the star of the show, right? In this movie, honestly, I don't think the villains overshadowed him at all. I think that this was his movie. Like, the other thing I'll say about why I like the Nolan films versus maybe like this film is the Nolan films are I like movies that actually have something to say, that explore some sort of sociological theme, right? Like the whole thing about The Dark Knight was like, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain, and how Batman had to become the villain to kind of save the city in terms of the belief, and Harvey Dent being, that was all really cool sociological shit. Okay. Does this movie get that deep? In my opinion, hell no, it doesn't. This movie is just a character study of Bruce Wayne, and and it's really kind of just introducing Bruce Wayne and his relationship to Gotham. Like that's what this movie's about. And please stop me because I'm in rant mode right now. Jeffrey Wright is a very convincing Gordon, and he's not commissioner yet at all. He's just Lieutenant Gordon. This movie does a great job of really like showing Gotham for a corrupt city.
Okay.
It's more corrupt than in any of the other movies, I think.
So again, like we talked about the rogues gallery and things like that.
Haven't even talked about the Riddler yet. Keep going.
Well, no, that's we'll get to him.
Yes.
So okay, who plays Alfred?
Exactly. Andy Serkis. Brilliant.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And Jeffrey Rush is
No, Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright, excuse me.
Very different people.
I know, I said it, and all of a sudden, like, the pictures flashed in my head, and I went, "Whoa, that's a very, very different casting choice." Okay, so you could rank. Everybody spends all day long ranking Batman movies. Where would you put the different, both Lieutenant, both Gordons, both Commissioner and Lieutenant, and the Alfreds from all the movies?
All right.
Ranked.
Well, again, I think it's a bit unfair because like Gary Oldman really like he was cool and kind of funny, but cool like in the first Batman, where I think he like operates like the oh my god, in the Batmobile. That's what I'm talking about. When that shit shows up, grin. I was just like,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Anyway, yeah. I mean, it's not like again, this is more grounded, so it's not as invincible as like the Tumblr from the Nolan movies.
Yeah, well,
but you're still like cheering that shit on.
You've seen screenshots, and it looks like a modded muscle car.
Yeah,
it looks like a Camaro.
Ways.
It's a muscled out Camaro.
But
which is cool. Like I dig that.
But yeah, no, I think so. I don't like Gary Oldman was a great Gordon, but I feel like Jeffrey Wright so far is like I buy him and I buy I buy their chemistry, the chemistry between Gordon and Batman in this film. So it's like yeah. So I'll just say right now, Oldman has the edge just because he has had more time in the role. But Jeffrey Wright is still solid. I mean, he has a great kind of gruff, intelligent voice, and you hear that in like his roles in Westworld, and even when he was in Catching Fire, The Hunger Games. So Jeffrey Wright's a great actor.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
He's fantastic.
Okay, again, sorry, I'm the one that was trying to like tell the screen, just because he's never come up on this show. What is your favorite Jeffrey Wright character ever?
I wouldn't call myself a connoisseur, but I would say probably, I mean, I guess Westworld right now, just because I feel like that's like, yeah, that he owned that role.
So
yeah, as Bernard.
Yes, thank
you. But he was interesting
too.
Like he was multifaceted in that role too. Like he was impressive in that.
See, I think he has hit the point now where he has shown so many different facets to himself, but they're all very, very real and human. That for me, my absolute favorite role he's ever done is Peoples Hernandez in Shaft.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. Okay.
The remake of Shaft.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good. It's really, really good because it takes like it. The second one's actually pretty good too. It leans into the blaxploitation of it.
Sure.
But you have to see that role because now if you know Jeffrey Wright from everything else,
yes,
when you see this and realize that it was one of his first movie roles, to do this role, but then subsequently do these other roles that he gets, shows you the fucking genius of this dude. Because it's like Peoples Hernandez, he's like this Puerto Rican gangster.
You know what? I think I know what you're talking about. I think I did see him in that. I for some reason I thought that was Bulworth, but that was actually what's his name? That was Don Cheadle in Bulworth, I think.
Don Cheadle, yeah.
So no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, he was a gangster in the early. He had like a earring and like a kind of like
the wave.
Yeah.
It's an amazing bad guy in like a cop movie.
Yeah.
Like he takes like he again just stands out. And so anyway, sorry.
Just, you're fine. And Andy Serkis again, he doesn't like and again it's like okay, Michael Caine in The Dark Knight was also just I liked him as Alfred, especially like in that third one. Well, he just had a lot of heart, okay? Andy is more of like a surrogate dad to him. And in the beginning it's a strained relationship, but by the end of the film you can tell, okay, now we know he's no longer just his butler and the guy who trained him to fight, but he's actually his family. And that was done in the movie. Paul Dano as the Riddler, I think his motivations are totally believable. He is he's batshit insane, and
Okay,
yeah,
and again, so now yeah. um, is he uh like the Riddler has always been portrayed like you say he's batshit crazy,
yes,
but is like in terms of the Riddlers that have been out there, and we'll take the Jim Carrey Riddler and the original, Riddler from the
TV
60s
show,
Batman series and just put them in the same boat as
sure.
that level of like,
Well, what other
you know,
Riddlers are out there then?
no, because you got
The TV show Gotham.
yeah, like the one in Gotham, you got the one on I'll even go so far as to say no,
Cartoon.
because in the Batman the animated series,
Yeah.
the Riddler in there is very much a reserved, he's not like out there and all over
Yeah,
the
no, this
place.
is
Like,
this is a serial killer. He's a serial killer who gets off on riddles, and the riddles are actually pretty good. He's insane, legitimately insane, and kind of just he's believable, like in terms of just like he's a fucking weird.
okay, so we don't get, let me ask this then. We don't get a green suit with question marks, right?
Hell no.
Okay, so this is that right there. What you just said makes me want to go see this movie even more.
Yes.
Only because I feel like with everything you've told me, this is for the first time in a portrayal of Batman, it's a very grounded,
Yes.
down to earth Batman.
Yes.
Like you were talking about, like the car versus the tumbler. Like Christopher
Yes.
Nolan's, they're great for the time that they were out.
Yes.
Like they're great movies. We can argue this in another time, but we haven't. I don't think we've ever really had. Does this Batman feel like it could actually be Batman today? Like like it's an actual legitimate, like you could see this actually being a thing kind of Batman. Does that make sense what I'm
It
saying?
does.
Like it could be real, if you will.
There are parts where I'm like, you know, you'd be dead. Like, if there are parts where I'm like, I don't know about that shit, right? But then when you also watch people do parkour, for example, then you go, maybe, But here's what I will here's what I wanted to say, and I'm gonna write it on Facebook anyway. But let me just start by saying this as well. And I think Pete, you were talking about this earlier. I started out a DCEU guy. Like I literally was rooting for the DCEU because I think there's kind of two people out there with their comic book movies. Some people like them funny and light and fun, okay? And some people like them serious and brooding and asking the real kind of questions. I'm that guy. So, so when so I was all about Man of Steel, the first one. And I was definitely looking at Marvel and kind of hating on them and wanting them to fail. I'm like, okay, you're cute and all, but you're not that good. I saw the first Avengers movie. I'm like, okay, it's cool, but you have no real identity with your scores. Like you're just snarky, whatever, right? Then Winter Soldier came out. And then I was like, oh shit, like this actually is serious. And I liked that. Okay. But then I was still Team DCEU, and BVS comes out 2016 and Civil War comes out 2016. They go head to head. And then literally after that, I was like, okay, you know what? You won, Marvel. But this is the most serious Batman film ever made. The most serious by far. And Matt Reeves, who did the Planet of the Apes, deserves the keys to the DCEU, straight up, because you actually figured it out. The DCEU, you guys should stop trying to be like Marvel. Marvel has got that comedy shit down. Let them have it. Let them have the fantastical cosmic shit, okay? And do that. DC, if you want to figure out cosmic, fine, but first find your lane first. And your lane to me is more serious. Smallville was a more serious show. Yes, it had some romance and shit, but with Lionel Luthor and Lex Luthor, that shit was dark. And that's what you need to stay there. Stay there. Don't do Justice League with Joss Whedon. Like that's when you lost the plot.
Exactly.
I'm so fucking passionate right now. So
No,
that one was
Love
unfortunate
Batman
though,
is a
because that's not what
dark
they were going to
film.
do.
yeah.
Like that was that was like a genuine tragedy that led to a bad film.
Right,
because of
the
what happened
daughter,
with Zack
yes.
Snyder. Yeah.
But
I mean, that's very
we've said it.
unfortunate.
We talked about it on this show, and I've said it to you, Andrew. I know you hate Batfleck, Kevin, so I won't go too
As a
deep
human
into that.
turd, go ahead.
Kevin, I'm sorry, I gotta jump in really quick. Kevin,
Please.
you should actually see this movie. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Like they don't do.
I don't think I'll be
rematch.
disappointed either. I just have no desire to see it in the theater. I
Fair,
have no
okay.
desire. Like we said in the
because
text
of where
chat,
you
like,
live, I get that. We talked
yeah,
about it in
I
our
have to
group
drive
text.
40 minutes to see the movie. If I go, I'm going to see it by myself,
Yeah.
which I'm not totally against, but that would be if the movie theater was 10 minutes away
That's
and I was going to go see it at 10 o'clock at night. That'd be fine. But
Yeah.
like for me to go see a movie at 10 o'clock at night now, I got to leave before my kids go to bed. I got to get home at like 1 in the morning and drive on. I don't know if you've been on a Connecticut freeway,
No.
but there's nobody on a fucking Connecticut freeway and it is dark.
Okay.
It's like driving back roads. So
Okay. Sorry, Pete, you were saying something.
Honestly, I forgot what I was saying. Oh no, Batfleck. Yeah, this is the one that I think, like for me, once they released the Snyder cut, we covered this on the show before, but it was much better.
Yes.
You know, for Justice League, but
it was a better crappy film. You know,
exactly.
And it just wasn't a tightly told story. Again, this story was like, again, it did not feel like 3 hours. And I was slightly, a little sad when it was over. Like, it was like, this is getting so good. Like, it's like Nolan, but with just better, obviously, production values, better cinematography, and a better, you're good, Bale, you are, and a better Batman. Like, this Batman is like,
well, you know what though? No, this is again. We've all always said it. It's not really even Batman because it can be anybody under the cape. It's the Bruce Wayne. It's how you play Bruce Wayne.
Another thing though, he's barely Bruce Wayne in this movie, dude. Like that's what I'm saying. He's in the suit way more than he is just outside of the suit. It gets it. It's like you aren't really Batman's the real you. Bruce Wayne's an act, and he's not even billionaire Bruce Wayne. He's like when he's not in the outfit, you can tell he just hates life. Nah, dude, he's in the suit more than dude. Yeah,
cool. I think one of the things that I struggle with when I'm trying to watch a Batman movie is that while I didn't watch it religiously, I watched a lot of Batman the Animated Series, and I played the Arkham games across the consoles, and all of those were Kevin Conroy as Batman.
Yeah.
And he is to me arguably the best Batman, period. Like that, the way the character was done, he was intelligent, he was brooding, but he wasn't just violently angry. Like if he was gonna do something, everything had a purpose. Like he was calculated all the time. And I think I said it, I don't know if you were on or it was just Andy, but what they tend to get away from is that Batman is always the smartest person in the room.
Well,
he's always, prepared.
Yeah. Like you see that in this movie. Okay. Like when because he's around the cops and they're all like hating on him and like, why is he here? Blah, blah, blah. But he's always like gets it first. So like he's a smart dude. He only messes up once. And like you really get that, like I highly recommend it. It's just like they pulled it off, and he's a smart guy. The chemistry between him and Zoe's awesome. The chemistry between him and Jeffrey is awesome. His physicality is bar none. And
I'm excited about that because I actually, when they cast Pattinson, for a flash second, you're like, shit, that's the dude from Twilight. And I've seen him in other stuff. And I know he's not, but like in your head. But then I was like, why not? I mean, there's no reason that a talented actor can't play the part. They just need to do it, so I've never really been against him as Batman. And I'll say this too, like if this movie landed on HBO Max at the same time, I would have watched it the day it came out.
Yeah.
The only reason that I didn't go to the theater is that it's not convenient. It's not a family movie. So that's the only reason I go to the theater is for family movies, and for not just family movies, but like legitimately right now only for Marvel movies. It's like the only reason we go to the theater.
Yeah, Marvel, Star Wars,
Jurassic Park. I'll see Jurassic Park in the theater.
I'll see again though. Jurassic Park I'll see in the theater because it's all about the spectacle.
Yeah. Well, and that one's because of my son. My son is he's a huge Jurassic Park fan.
I'd see there's some. I've been trying to get out to. I saw something. I forgot what it was, but I've been
You
trying to get
guys
out
all
to
went to
Jackass. That's right. We
yeah.
went to Jackass Forever. And actually seeing that in the theater has made me want to just find an afternoon or find the thing to go out and see that 2 hour comedy in the theater and actually give some money to that for the very short limited release that some comedies are out, because there's something to be said, and this is what I've always forgot about the theater, because we got the comfort of being at home during the pandemic in a lot of ways. With they wound up releasing some stuff. There's something to the theater and the shared experience
Hell yes.
Mm-hmm.
with people. There really, really is. And I part of me started to get reminded of that because we took the my girls to see Hamilton, and then within a month of that, we took them to see Hairspray. And the San Jose Performing Arts Center, like the tickets weren't cheap, but for Hairspray, we were like fucking 2 rows back from the stage, like off on the center. They were phenomenal fucking seats, and they were. I mean, they don't get me wrong, it wasn't like cheap, but not like it would have been if I was trying to do that at the Orpheum in San Francisco
Yeah.
or something at all. Like easily half as much for those seats for a show, of that caliber, if you will. But yeah, I want to. That's kind of one of my goals for the rest of the year, is that some of these movies that are coming out that I normally wouldn't ever see in a theater, just because I actually want to go try and see them in the theater, just
Well, and
because of that.
for me, that's the other gotcha. Where I live, there's just not a lot of people.
That's
So,
yeah,
like I think I've said before, like when we bought tickets for Spider-Man, we bought tickets for Eternals, and we bought tickets for Shang-Chi. The theater was never full. Like, and we saw them all opening day.
Yeah.
You know, it just there's a handful of theaters around here and not a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I think if I went to a non-blockbuster movie in the middle of the day, I could legitimately be the only person in the theater. So then kind of what's the point? Then
right.
I'm not getting that shared experience.
Yeah.
So it's not like Dublin where around the theater you've got like an entire population of people. Like Dublin's got a buttload of people. My town, the towns around me are not big. And I think anybody that's in like Hartford, Connecticut is going to go see a movie in Hartford, Connecticut.
Connecticut.
So it's a different thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you've made me like, and this I think I still have a little bit of time, but I'm gonna try and find some time to make sure I see this in the theater. I really wanted to, and like I think we even talked about it briefly last week, where I said I was going to go see it, and I just life got in the way. But yeah, I really want to see this in the theater now. Like I was kind of leaning towards Kevin, where I was for a minute there, where I was very much like, I do, but
and I think if I still lived out there, and I wanted to grab a couple of buddies and go see it, that would be different too. Like I think I would see it with a couple of friends. But my wife is not. If it wasn't for Marvel, she wouldn't be a superhero fan at all. And she kind of got sucked into Marvel. She does not like the DC movies at all. Like she just hates the DC movies.
One of the things
and you won't change that opinion on her. So I'm not going to bother, and that's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't mind. I'll watch a movie by myself. I don't care. But just with the theater going experience, it's a whole different thing now.
Yeah.
One of the things I heard, one of the theater goers was she's like, it was so serious, and I feel like for her that was probably not like what she was expecting. Like she just thought, oh, superhero movie, cool, like fun, snarky, like
you have to know your content a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But the average film goer, I think, doesn't.
I think you hit it on the head, and it's something we've always said, is that it's always with DC, it's always just like figure out your lane and fucking stay in it. If you want to be dark, be dark. I'm down for that. If you want to be the dark,
good, not just dark for the sake of being dark, because I feel like what's his name, Snyder, fucked it up. Like it's like be dark, but actually have something to say, like and not something stupid like grandma's pee or whatever on the courtroom. Like it was just no. Have some purpose with your darkness, and Snyder's just not that deep. I'm sorry, dude. You make beautiful films, but you're just not a good storyteller. Matt Reeves, on the other hand, though, you are a damn good storyteller, and yeah, like you helped Marvel. I mean, not Marvel. You helped DC find its footing
But
finally.
the problem is that even if he has like two of it, the next three films to come out are The Flash, Shazam, and Aquaman. So
Yeah,
those aren't going to be serious. They're not going to be in the same lane as the Batman. So
right.
DC still doesn't have their lane because
Yeah,
they,
it's
you know,
schizophrenic. And Toby Emmerich is like, this is a director's house, so we're gonna give the directors all the power. Like, yeah, and
No, but here's a very easy way to
multiverse.
almost tie that in some way.
Okay.
I mean, not even multiverse it. You just you've got these movies that are coming out now, but you've only gone out 2 years. Stop.
yes, they DC.
Stop.
No, seriously,
That's
DC
it.
needs to take a
Stop.
break. They need to take like 5 years off,
No,
plan it
this is
out,
what you
and then
do. No,
start over.
exactly.
Just give
But
Matt
this is
peace.
what you do. You start now. If this Batman is
Yes,
as good as you say it is,
it
you
is.
use this Batman as
Yeah,
the relaunch point.
yes.
You let these other ones happen. They can have their thing. And you know what? The Rock will be fucking disappointed that there's not going to be another Black Adam movie or whatever, but he'll be fucking fine. That guy,
It's
his
loaded.
wallet's thicker than his fucking neck is. He doesn't give a shit.
Mm.
This is your relaunch point.
Yeah.
This is your jump.
Yes.
You've got this Batman now. I like the idea that they did have like the Zack's like in the Snyderverse, if you will. I like the idea where they were going there, where Batman was older,
Yes.
and we're getting a more Twilight Batman, like from Dark
Yes.
Knight Returns. I've fucking sucked that graphic novels and cartoon movies dick enough. You all know about that. I've said it a million times. This is it. This is where we go from here. You've created this kind of grounded world, and I get it for stuff like the Flash and things like that, yada 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 yada. It's got to be, there is going to be some hyperbole and difference, but now you've created a DC was incredibly serious, yet still almost as shiny as a Marvel movie. Like Batman
Mm.
versus Superman.
Yeah.
That's what I felt with that one. Was like it's supposed to be this dark brooding thing. And yeah, it was like literally darker lighting wise, but I still felt like you still felt like Batman versus Superman despite the fact that it was also just a horrible fucking turd of a movie. Like where it was dark, it was still shiny and light. Like it wasn't that same level of grittiness. And if that's what we've got here, bring it.
Yeah,
I'm really intrigued to see this movie now, and I hope, like you just said, Matt Reeves deserves the keys to the kingdom. I hope that because, like Kevin, you're right though. You let these next few movies play out, and you do a
and
Batman trilogy over 5 years,
yeah,
and
it just
just
leads to confusion, I think, though, because
oh, completely.
if
I
you,
know.
well, yeah, because you have this one that did say let's just go over the top and say this is the perfect Batman movie, right? Maybe it's not, but let's just say for today and for now, this is the perfect Batman movie. If you if you put the next one out after these next three films, like Black Adam, I know The Rock thinks he's going to be super dramatic, and I can bet that it's going to be at least a little cheesy, right? So you
I'm
got
sorry.
Black
I
Adam, you
love The
got
Rock,
Tremendous.
but I love The
I'm
Rock.
over The Rock though. I love The Rock,
I
but I'm over The Rock.
no, I only want to see him with like fucking Kevin Hart now.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
That's honestly everything else The Rock does is always pretty good, but The Rock and Kevin Hart is
Together.
fucking magical.
Jumanji.
Not just from
yeah.
Jumanji. Just
Oh.
go to YouTube tonight and go
Okay.
Rock plus Kevin Hart and just fucking nerd out for 2 hours on the dumbass shit that the two of them do together. That is
Okay.
some of the funniest shit you will ever see. When they're on fucking when they're on the Graham Norton show talking about Jumanji, fuck, I side splitting
Okay.
laughter. They're just fucking hilarious together. Anyway, I digress. Continue.
Yeah, it's just all those movies, they just completely change the tone of what Batman just did. So even if it's perfect as far
Check it
as the
out, then, though.
DCEU goes, I don't know.
The
Do you
Penguin show.
remove those if you're looking to make the universe? If you're looking to extend that universe, do you get rid of Shazam and the Flash and Black Adam and move from Batman to make the other ones? And then where do these three sit? Do you fix them after these movies so that they can fit into a Matt Reeves DCEU? Because you're not going to rewrite them; they're produced, right? They're ready to go.
Yeah.
So you can't change them, you can't darken them, you can't improve them. They are what they are. You know Aquaman 2 is going to be a turd. It's not going to be good. It'll be fun. It's not going to be good. The Flash might be okay. Is it going to be better than like Justice League? Is it going to be funnier?
No,
Like
the Flash is going to be Justice League Part 2.
I,
Like realistically,
it
like
shouldn't.
With Batflex in it, so it's like, well, they
But it
both.
shouldn't be like if you. He was the only fucking good part of the Justice League was the Flash.
but
Like he was funny.
not
Like he
until
was
not until the friggin' Zack Snyder cut came out though.
no,
Right.
even the first one. Like he was the only character that like no, he had a better story overall, but
In the
character wise,
yeah,
he was
I'll
kind of
give you
the
that.
only character that I liked because he was quirky, he was
No,
weird.
he
Like
was fun and he was enjoyable. I will still argue, even though the second movie was just what the fuck. Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman is still the one character that like I wish they would take her again and go, okay, let's get a third Wonder Woman movie and like do something right
well,
with the
they
character.
are.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
they are. I
working
didn't
on
know
it.
they were
Oh
making
yeah,
it.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
green
yeah.
Oh no,
They're already
good,
working on it, but it's
good.
still Patty Jenkins. So now I'm like, who?
exactly. It's gonna suck.
Yeah, yeah. I tried really hard to like her because the first movie was solid until that last bit,
Third
right? Like
act.
it was a
Yeah.
good movie.
Oh,
And then
by
the
the way,
second
I'll
one
say this: the
was
third act
terrible.
of Batman is the weakest part. I will say that.
Oh really?
Or I not only like the like there it dips in the third, even though the action kicks up, but then because it just feels more colored by numbers, I'll admit that. But then afterwards, there's just more, and it just it lands. So that's
Okay.
why I want to say it's a perfect movie. That's why I'm saying Dark Knight and then Rises might be a little better. But yeah, I think the third act is probably the hardest part of a film. I'm not a filmmaker, but maybe that's the hardest part to do, like how do you resolve everything and make it really good?
Yeah,
But I
it
think
is
Endgame
definitely.
certainly did it. But anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I don't know that we necessarily have a lot left to say about it, but
Okay.
it's just DC has himself in a corner. I think the
Yeah.
best thing they could possibly do, and they won't do it, but the
Yeah.
best thing they could possibly do is just stop making movies for 5 years. Get some people together that can actually, they don't have to plan 10 years, but plan the seeds for each one of those characters that matter. So, and the one thing that Marvel did better than anybody is they fucking started with Iron Man and Thor and Captain America because who gave a shit about Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America? When Sony bought the rights to Spider-Man, Marvel offered them everything, and Sony said, "No thanks. Nobody gives a shit about anything but Spider-Man." And they were right. Like
Yeah.
Marvel had to prove them wrong. So like, and now, and then on top of that, HBO is producing so many TV series based on
Yes.
the movies, but then based on other stuff, they're doing Blue Beetle, which is cool. I
Yes.
would rather see a Blue Beetle movie
Yep.
than a series, and I'd rather see that be done right and that launch the fucking DCEU. Not because Batman's not perfect or whatever, but it gives you that middle ground, semi-funny, semi-interesting character that would draw people in, and then you can do the other stuff. You can do I don't know, you could do a Green Arrow like movie, or Green Lantern's hard because there's so many special effects that you kind of run into that Aquaman scary area. But like Green Arrow would be cool if you did Green Arrow right, because he's a tormented character. Like Green Arrow,
Yes.
There's so many great characters in the DCEU, and they are in the DC comics, that they could start with some of the lesser known ones and then build up their universe. you know.
Yeah, well,
Mm, well, I mean, we'll see. They're just going to keep making movies, so
Well, no, yeah,
we'll, we'll see which
you're
ones
right
stick.
though, but you look at it, and if you wanna backpedal and say, okay, how should DC have launched this off? You're completely right, Kevin. If they were gonna mirror Marvel, they should have done like, okay, you know what? Here's the fucking Hawkman movie. Here's,
Dude,
like
Hawkman is actually a fucking cool story. Like, that's
yeah,
the thing. Like, Hawkman is like fucking timeless. He's fucking Egyptian. Like, there's some crazy shit in the Hawkman storyline. But if you don't do it right, it's going to look fucking stupid. Like, that's the catch with anything.
here's Martian
Um,
Manhunter.
Another one
You
that
know,
and you don't have to spend the money on a budget. Like, he can be the black detective like 99% of the
first at
time
the
and be the
time,
green guy,
exactly.
some of the time. And that would be cool. Like, I mean, can you imagine just like a noir detective story where the guy just happens to also be able to shapeshift and fly, right? Like, you can tie that in, but like, if the story really was about him being the detective, he's the Martian Manhunter because he's fucking hunting people down. Like, he's a detective in his personal. John Jones is a detective. Like,
Exactly. And these are all like they should have started with guys like that and
mhm.
then give us a Batman and a Superman and
build
if
up
you're
to it.
trying to, yeah, exactly. If you're trying to mimic Marvel in that way, then then we get Wonder Woman in the Justice League. Then we get Aquaman.
Yeah, I will say that
I will say
Marvel.
this right now. I do not believe in any way, shape, or form that if Jason Momoa was not a thing, that Aquaman actually would have wound up being made as both a movie and as part of the Justice League. Like I
Yeah,
legit don't believe that they would have bothered with I mean, he's fish dude. Like let's not. I mean,
But they did bring him into Smallville. To be fair, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I am saying, like, there
no,
there
no,
was
no. They
precedent.
brought yes, they brought him into Smallville, right? And I didn't watch all Smallville.
Okay.
How big a deal was Aquaman in Smallville?
He had his own. I mean, he was more of like he showed up in a couple of episodes.
he was
So
going
like,
to get his own series actually off of Smallville, and then
as a
they didn't
matter
like
of
the
fact,
pilot.
the guy who played Oliver
Reacher.
Queen was supposed to be
Yeah,
the
yeah, he was supposed to
yeah,
be. Yeah, that's right.
he was supposed
Um,
to
It's like
be
I'm
Aquaman.
sorry, what Reacher?
just,
What who?
no. So before, when they were going to do a spin-off, when they were going to do an Aquaman show, it was going to be the guy that plays Reacher.
Shut the fuck up, that dude.
Yeah, but then, or no, I'm sorry, the other way around. When they did it on Smallville, uh, he played Aquaman. So he
Oh,
played
really?
Aquaman on Smallville. When they were talking about doing a spin-off, it was going to be Justin Hartley, who is now
Yes,
on This Is Us. When
correct.
that didn't take, they
They gave
brought Justin
him
Hartley in as Green Arrow, as
Arrow.
Oliver Queen
Correct.
in Smallville.
I did not realize Reacher. That's Reacher, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, good for him. I love
He's
it
a
when people like blow up. That's good for
yeah.
him.
He's a lot bigger now too. He
Reacher.
physically blew up too.
I know. I know we talked about it on the show, but
Mhm.
again, it bears saying again. Reacher is way better than it's getting any
Yes.
sort of press for. It's
Yeah.
a
Mhm.
fun detective movie, and it actually makes me want to go read those books
Mhm.
because he's a detective. He's not just like that. That was the thing with like the Tom Cruise movie. I watched that finally. That was
I
a
liked
fucking
the Tom
blur.
Cruise one, but I have the advantage of, again, not knowing the story. I didn't know that he was supposed to be 6'50" and 5,000 pounds of pure muscle when I watched the Tom Cruise movie, so it was fine. The Tom Cruise one to me felt like a modern day Western. Dude
Yeah,
blows into town, does some shit,
yeah,
and blows out of town, and that's what he does in the series. Like, it's a modern day Western. Like, he shows up, some shit goes sideways, he saves the town and fucking bolts.
Good
yes,
for you, Alan Richson. You've
Yeah.
reinvented yourself. Good for you, man. I'm all about
Well, he was in the
people.
Hunger Games too. He's been
Yes.
around.
yeah.
He's been around
He
for a
was.
while.
That's right.
Yeah. But this is like, I would say, his big break, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's a starring role. I mean, they've built in all for reality. There's like 18 books in that fucking series,
Hmm, hmm.
and this
And
first
they're already
season
doing the
covers
second one.
the first book. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
this guy could, if they keep this up, this guy could go on and be doing this for fucking years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's a
Yep.
good, it's a solid, at least from
Mythology.
the first season, it's a really solid, if you will, detective story. Like the
Mhm.
only time it ever gets cheesy is in the last episode and like the big warehouse fight scene at the end.
Yeah.
And the only reason it's cheesy is because you could tell they ran out of budget, so all the CGI flame effects were just so bad that it almost takes you out of it for a second because you're like wanting to pay attention to this fight, but at the same time you're like, that's fucking horrible fire. Like, what the fuck is that? But yeah, that show could go on for a while because it's just solid acting, performing. You get a whole new cast each time. Like it could be a really fun show. Anyway, I digress from that.
I think this is the longest all pop no culture podcast I've ever been on. This is a record.
I know.
Yeah. So it is 11:38 Pacific Standard Time. We haven't switched over to daylight savings. You guys on the East Coast have.
Yep.
So instead of finding out what we learned tonight, because obviously the biggest thing is we have learned nothing because I have like 3 hours and 57 minutes in the fucking thing. So we're going to get another big ass audio episode coming up here. And that'll be that. We're going to call it tonight. I would like to thank any of you listeners or viewers at this point. I know it's Kevin's special lost episode if he's still got this in, who have hung in with us to this point.
Mm-hmm.
You're a fucking savage because we're putting up Joe Rogan time right now, baby.
Mm-hmm.
This is fucking. We've got Jordan
We
Peterson on.
we don't.
We're going for it.
People's personal time.
Exactly.
We don't at all. Listen to the show. It's long and we don't care.
So yeah.
I think next week we have everybody, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. I'm traveling again.
Okay, no sweat.
All right, cool.
No, yeah.
We alternate.
It's worked out that you guys alternate.
Never seen both in the same place at the same time.
They might be the same person. You never know.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a makeup job you do every week, then, Andrew.
I know.
Yeah,
and vocal cords and all that
you
shit.
can stick with this one. It's better looking.
Aw.
Yeah.
No, that's not how we do it now. It's this. It's almost like you're throwing up a gang sign.
Oh, like it takes me practice. I think I got it. Yeah, okay.
At least that's how the 14-year-old girls do it. That's my like thing of what's cool now is because I have teenagers in my life. But yeah, thank you for listening. If you're still listening, you probably have already liked the Facebook or the Instagram and made a comment. But I'm gonna say it anyway. Just do it. Comment, post, share it with your friends,
And like the YouTube too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh hell yes, subscribe.
Yes, definitely.
Don't just like, subscribe. But thank you guys for being on.
Yeah,
this is always fun, and I honestly, I'm looking back at this one and I'm trying to figure out how the fuck we got so long, because we tried so hard to keep.
We took a break in the middle too. Remember, we got like 10.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that wasn't that long. It was like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's a few minutes. There's
And
a lot of
pre-show too. Exactly. I was just a lot of pre-show.
Yeah, I might. Yeah, who knows when we're.
We might get this down to 3 hours and 30 minutes.
God, I'm gonna have to listen to that first fucking. Like, I looked at the pre-show time that I recorded. I have to listen to a complete hour before I decide how much of that I'm going to keep in as the show, and see if it's a gag that winds up working, where we've got fucking 20 minutes of show and then I finally do the intro and now I'm talking about it for no reason at all. So this is me, Clive Anderson, saying good night. Good night. And there's another one I want to talk about, but I could save it for another time. It's funny because I almost, like I told the wife and daughter because they're watching it right now. Have you guys ever seen This Is Where I Leave You?
Heard of it? I
Jason
don't think I've seen it.
Bateman, Jane Fonda. Okay, it's on
No.
HBO Max. It is one to watch. It's an older movie and it is completely fucking slept on. It has an amazing ensemble cast. You've got Adam Driver is in it and he's fucking amazing. Jane Fonda, I'm not usually a fan, and she was fucking bangerang in it.
No, have you
You've got
watched Gracie and Grace
oh
and
yeah,
Frankie? Yeah.
she that's one of the things I do
Mhm.
love her in. I think she tends to be, for me, Jane Fonda in most of what she's done in the last like 10 15 years is all very one note. It's the
Mhm.
same character, it's the First Wives Club and the fucking this and
Yeah.
that. I think she plays the same kind of character in Frankie and Grace, but
She gets humanized by the end of the first season.
yes,
Like, yeah,
that's
which
why
is what they need. Yeah.
exactly, that's why I could continue watching it, because I was like, oh yeah, she isn't just like this cold-hearted bitch. Kevin looks like he's listening to
I
hear
have two cats next to me trying to box each other, like on their hind legs on the countertop, just beating each other in the face.
Aw.
Shitheads.
Yeah, but this is where I leave you. It's Tina Fey is in it. Timothy Oliphant is in it. I want to say the guy's name is Ben Schwartz. I don't think that's his
Mhm.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the guy, the skinny guy. Yeah.
from Sonic,
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
You know what? Still haven't watched that. Well, he was in that
House
show
of
that I talked
Lies.
about, the
He's in
after
Parks
party.
and Rec, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. He's in it. It's Rose Byrne
I like her.
is in it.
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
I do too.
No, it is definitely a phenomenal. Oh, Catherine Hahn
I
Yeah,
love
of
Catherine
course.
Hahn.
is in it. Yeah, dude, it's a great movie. It's super funny. But it's total heartwarming because it all revolves around this, like, the matriarch of the family, the dad dies, or the patriarch, the dad dies. He's an atheist, but he wants all his kids to sit Shiva for him. So they all come into town, and it's like all these these people like blending together, and just because it's the house they grew up in. And Jane Fonda, the mom, famously wrote a book about raising her kids, and some of the stuff she says about, like, as a kid, that the Jason
I
Bateman
feel like
character,
I've seen some of this movie, or maybe I
it
just
is
remember the trailer.
it is so fucking good. Like, I'm serious. I want to talk about it on the show, but I don't want to for time, just like length, because I feel like I mentioned it back a year or
Maybe.
two ago, like a
Maybe.
long time ago. But it's just for you guys just to watch it. It's so, and it's on HBO. Like I said, it's on HBO Max. I've been very HBO Max centric lately. But
What's it
yeah,
called again?
it's called This Is Where I Leave You.
Okay. Thank you.
It's really good. Yeah.
So as far as what I've seen, I mean, I did see Batman today. So I could talk about that without
Please.
spoilers.
No,
Yeah,
spoil it.
Yeah. I
Spoil
don't
it.
care. I'm not going to see it until
I'm gonna
it's
see it. I
HBO.
don't. Yeah, I'll wind up seeing it. I don't mind spoilers. And
All right.
at this point, for people, this was always kind of our rule.
True.
We did.
Okay.
It's 1 week out.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it now within 1 week, you take the
It's
spoilers.
your own fault. Yeah.
All right.
That's
Cool.
that's on you if it's that important to you. If
Cool.
not, don't watch. So yeah, no, spoiler away. I'm very interested to hear your take on it, because like I said,
Cool.
you did love DC way
Correct.
more than I
That's
did.
totally
in the
what I'm going to talk about. All right. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too, is I love DC. I actually, growing up, I like DC comics more than Marvel comics a lot of the time. I just haven't historically liked DC movies. They just haven't, other than the 90s, the first two Batmans, and then the
You know what though?
Not even Superman 2.
maybe
Interesting.
it's
You
been,
gotta think
what though,
about
it's been a long time since I watched it. I only watched it when I was a
Okay.
kid, so
You
all
know-
I have of that is childhood memories.
The original Superman 2.
Mhm.
Christopher Reeve.
It's
You know what?
strongest, I think.
I'm gonna say it. Over fucking rated.
Oh my god!
Good
don't
movie.
think-
Great movie. It was a great. Don't get me wrong. It was a great movie. But you know what? I could give a fuck about the Marlon Brando floating head and the Fortress of Solitude and the humanizing of Superman because he gets beat up by the guy in the diner. Like, it just doesn't. It doesn't do it for me. in the same way that it does for everybody else. I enjoyed it. I think it's cool. And when he comes back with his powers, and part of it is the fucking that is that part of those movies has always been the fucking score.
Yes.
Well, yeah,
That
that's not
No,
fair.
it's epic.
like you're just like, oh,
It's the
for
best.
people our age, you hear
Yes.
that and you like know what it is, even if you haven't watched those movies in fucking 30 years, 40 years even,
John Williams outdid himself.
that motherfucker, dude. I will shed tears when he dies.
I know, me too.
Hmm.
Like
I shed
legit
tears
fucking
when
tears,
when
bro.
Stan Lee died too. It was crazy. It was like I lost an uncle or something or a
When who?
grandfather. Stan Lee. I
Oh yeah.
remember I was just sitting at fucking Wendy's or some shit, just sitting. I sat there and thought about it, and then I actually watched this video of him talking about fans. It was like I think one of his last videos he ever did, and I just started fucking crying. It was crazy. Anyway,
See, that one didn't mess me up as much because he was so fucking old. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I expected it.
I did,
yeah, and not
but
that it didn't like affect me because it did. The one that broke me was Chadwick Boseman.
Oh,
Like
oh,
that, I couldn't
dude.
like. I
I
remember watching all of the like the news specials and stuff they had, like
Yep.
the week of and all that. Like that just it just killed
I
me because
lit
he was so
mm,
impressive that he took that shit to the grave. Like no
Yeah.
one knew
Yeah.
until like he didn't let anybody worry. He didn't let anybody bother. He held his head up and fucking powered through everything he could power through until he couldn't anymore.
I
And
legit cried
hmm
when I found that out. Like
yeah,
I shed tears. That was one that was really really rough. He's another one that I hate because he was taken so goddamn young,
yes.
mhm.
and the work he was just beginning to do. It's that's so hard because he lit up the screen in
Yeah,
everything
oh
he did.
yeah,
Did
oh
you guys ever
yeah.
see Draft Day?
No.
I didn't watch that one. I
Okay,
I,
you
I
know what?
thought about it, but
Again, here's like we'll keep this in pre-show. We could start in a couple minutes here
mhm.
to really get it going. But Draft Day is, if you like sports movies, it's cool. And Kevin Costner does at one
Kevin
thing
Costner's Kevin Costner
is
in
a sports
sports
movie.
movies. Yeah.
It's so cool though because it's all about this draft. Obviously, it's Draft Day,
Hmm.
right? And he's the Cleveland Browns, head manager. His dad used to be the manager. He's knocked up Jennifer Garner, who's his girlfriend, who works in the office. She's like one of the budget girls. Dennis Leary has just been hired as the head coach. He's got all this stuff going on. Chadwick Boseman plays this linebacker that he wants to get, and they have the number one pick in the draft, right? He really wants Chadwick Boseman, and just all this stuff that happens. Chadwick Boseman. It's a small role. He has maybe 8 minutes of screen time, but when he's on the screen, you're transfixed
Hmm.
by him. And there's nothing. There's nothing super. You know, it's not like the performance calls for much pathos and fucking you know soliloquies and shit. But there's a moment again. It's just like the moment. Spoilers, but you're gonna if you watch it, it's
It's a
telegraphed.
sports
You know
movie. You
what's
know
gonna
what's coming.
happen. It's
Yeah.
a sports movie. You know what the fuck's gonna happen. Actually, you know what's gonna happen until he fixes everything. Like when he does a pick. He does the pick and picks Chadwick Boseman, which you're expecting. You know he's going to do it, right? Oh, that was the other part. They have the chance to get this like Messiah quarterback, Bo Callahan. So it's this whole, there's all the oppositional forces to that. But the moment they cut to Chadwick Boseman's character, the moment that they announce that he was the number one draft pick, he's at home, with his family and stuff. And the look on his face and in his eyes, like he completely telegraphed it in that moment. I was like, oh, that dude is feeling it. Like, you really, it's one of those things where you look at it, it's not like the generic or, to like the excitement or anything else, or Puffy's in it too. He plays Bo's agent. It's very small role
Interesting.
again. Um, but I'd like to see Puff do some more stuff. He was fucking hilarious and Get Him to the Greek, which is a much better movie than I think gets credit for. Russell fucking
Brand.
Russell Brand.
he's, what though? Russell Brand is like Jerry Lewis. because Russell Brand, I don't find him funny when he's trying to make me laugh, but when he's trying to be serious, I find him fucking hilarious. You know,